my gosh, I have tried to record this like 4 times. This is so bizarre, right? So right now I have like a clear quartz hard crystal. It's not a rock. Because I'm like, no, this is going to happen. But I am just like, who does not need to see this or doesn't want to see this? This is crazy. So whether you do psychic work as a practitioner, as a medium, as a channel, as a reader, or whether you just use your psychic abilities in your own life to navigate your world, which I hope we all do, there's one thing that can really be detrimental to your perception, and it's anxiety. So today's episode is how anxiety affects psychic perception. I hope you get a lot from our time together. I am going to go through anxiety makers and anxiety breakers, so be sure to stay through to the end. Hello, and welcome to the Constance Messmer Podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. So I'm sitting here with Spirit saying, like, what is all this about? Like these false starts, like I get ready to record, I hear a wait. So I turn off my camera and then I wait. I'm like, I'm not asking, like, why am I waiting? I just waited. And then sure enough, a couple seconds later, the UPS guy comes with a package that if I left it outside, it would have gotten hot in this weather and it would have been bad for it, really detrimental to what was inside the package. So I was like, okay, thanks, Spirit, for telling me to wait. So if you struggle with anxiety, it will affect your intuitive agency. It will also affect how you give readings. It'll affect your mediumship skills. It creates a filter, if you will, when Spirit's trying to communicate with you or when you're trying to source information. How's that? Anxiety creates a prism in a way, right? And I think if you were to ask me what makes a good psychic, and realizing that psychic is the basis for mediums and channels, right? And even yourself, if you just seek the knowledge and awareness for yourself to use it in your life to, make decisions or choices, stuff like that. Like I always think we all should. Lean into your intuition. But if you were to ask me what things make a good psychic, what attributes? One would be either the skill set of your 11 soul senses or the desire to develop your 11 soul senses. That's important because it's how your soul speaks to you. It's how Spirit speaks to you. It's how the messages come to you, right? Through your 11 soul senses. That's important. The 11 soul senses definitions are on my website. It's in my Your 11 Soul Senses, a journal for self-discovery. All of these places. I'm going to bombard you with that because it's the language of your soul. So the first one would be either have the skill set already or the desire to develop your skill set, which may be why you're tuning in, because you're like, Constance, what more do you want to share with us on this? So I'm right with you. So thanks for tuning in. The other attribute is the desire to know yourself. I've told you this for a long time. And it's actually what I covered in the episode, A Healing Journey Through Your Soul Senses. It's a great episode. It's very early on in my playlist. If you haven't seen it, I encourage you to watch it or listen, maybe even close your eyes while you're watching, because it is B-roll. It's not me on film, but it's got valuable information. In it, I tell you how important it is to recognize that when you're developing your psychic nature, you are going to uncover and need to process your own shit. And that is precisely where your anxiety lies. Listen, I am not a therapist, you know that. So it could be a chemical thing that maybe makes you anxious. It could be a biological thing, or it could be a soul level thing, or a number of other things, right? If it's a soul level thing, I encourage you to get my book, Soul Yoga, to help you kind of go through your 12 chakras to look what's there that might be anxiety producing. But as you know, as you may guess, anxiety can produce fear or can draw on your fears, right? And really wreak havoc with your perception. Anxiety can bring about paranoia It can bring about a false sense of urgency. When you get information, you're like, oh my God, I have to do this. I have to know the answer. I have to do this. And it's like, no, that could be your anxiety talking, so you have to really navigate and discern. Anxiety can also create delusions in reads for yourself or others, and it can also create embellishments. It can feed embellishments. Let me put it that way. Anxiety can feed embellishments. So there are anxiety makers that I want to talk to you about, and there are anxiety breakers. But let me talk to you first about the anxiety makers. Now, first of all, because you're watching this, you're probably already super sensitive. Or maybe you've had an experience in your life, a traumatic experience that put you on hyper alert, and that's created some sensitivity. But you also could have just been born being sensitive. And so you're highly aware, clairsensation wise. And so being aware of how things affect you and how they might produce anxiety within your energetic spaces, this is going to be important. So, what are some anxiety makers? These anxiety makers, and this is just a short list, these will adversely affect your intuitive agency, your psychic perception. One is, and you've heard me say it before, garbage in, garbage out. What are you feeding your mind, really? This could be dystopian books, shows, it could even be music, it could be film, right? It could be negative people. So the first thing that I would suggest, that if you're considering like, ooh, I think anxiety is taking me out, it's not helping, right? Maybe if this is you saying it's affecting my ability to either give good psychic reads or actually get great intuition, and I'm curious half the time, is this just me being anxious or is this accurate information from spirit, right? You might want to look at the garbage in your life. Like, where are you drawing on negative sources that might be creating anxiety in your mind? So that your mind is actually on repeat of worst case scenario, dystopia, hard life, hardship, stuff like this. And, this could be, there might be times when you have to shut off the news or, unfriend some people or whatever it is, right? That's for you to decide. But that's an anxiety maker, is garbage coming in that will trip you up and make you anxious. Another thing, and you're not going to like this, you're going to really not like me for this. This is when you lie. This is when you lie to yourself. Now, there's white lies, there's pretending, there's faking it through. All of those go under the heading of lies. They are not true. That's the point. When you lie to yourself, you begin to lose touch with yourself. Like, you begin to lose touch with yourself, let alone losing touch with reality, let alone being able to discern truth in spiritual moments of psychic perception. This one is super important. So, time to clean up your act. Don't lie, not even to yourself. Don't pretend. Garner the courage to speak your truth and live your truth, which will lead you to your authentic life and self and lead you to authenticity in your psychic perceptions, in your reads, in your mediumship, in the spirits you draw around you, in the angels that come to you. All of this, right? All of this. So if you're starting to get faulty information in your readings and things aren't landing and you're like, this doesn't feel right, or if you're feeling a spirit guide around you that you're like, you know what, this person's a bullshitter. This being is a bullshitter. Their information is not helpful at all. I want you to also look at your lies. What are you projecting? What are you projecting that's acceptable? Chills. What are you projecting that's acceptable? Don't lie to yourself. I've got such full body chills, you guys. My whole body's goosebumped. Goosebumped. So someone needed to hear that. Like, hello, hello. Kind of write it out to write it out. WRITE to RIGHT it out. Like, why do you lie? Where do you lie in your life? Why are you putting up a front? Are you in the wrong job, wrong relationship? Someone just said wrong family. Sometimes you come for the biology, but not for the community. So there's that too. I'm just saying. I didn't say it. I got that from spirit. So there's your gift of walking away. Sorry. I didn't even know that was going to come through. So lies are not a good thing. Same with bad choices, right? I want you to be conscious of your choices. Bad choices have you compromising yourself, right? You can start becoming more critical, negative inner voice, negative critical inner voice where you're like, why'd you do that? Beat yourself up, stuff like this, because a part of you knew it was not the best choice for you, not for your highest good, and you did it anyway. So I want you to be conscious of your choices, because what happens when we make bad choices, even if it's just like, yeah, I'll do that. Yeah, I have the time. And we overpromise and underdeliver. When we overpromise and underdeliver for friends, for family, for business, for self, right? For self, it leaves us drained, and it can leave us exhausted, and it can lead us to like projecting, actually. Like, I'm asking spirit, how does it lead us to projecting? When you make bad choices, oh, you get off your path. Holy shit. When you make bad choices, you get off your path, and you're constantly trying to course correct. There's this card in the Mythic Tarot deck that I use where it's the magician, and he comes across this fork in the road that's like 5 different paths or something, or 4 or whatever. And he has to choose, like, which way should I go? And this is us in life, right? I think we have these pivotal moments in life where we have these beautiful opportunities for choices or redirection or reinvention. And if we set down a false path, or a path that leaves us compromised, we not only become exhausted, but we have a hard time then catching up to ourselves. And spirit has a hard time kind of course correcting us. We might be trying to manifest one path, but we're already heading down another path. And maybe the important thing is to sit with it when you're supposed to make a decision, to really sit with it and say, what do I want for me? And don't lie. What do I want for me? And don't believe garbage. Don't believe like, oh, you can't possibly do that. What do you think? Who do you think you are? This is really important. I'm getting full body chills. You're playing small does not serve anyone. Don't play small. You've come with purpose. Your life has meaning. You are here on the planet. Who you are is what you came to do. If your heart is calling you to do something, that is powerful, beautiful, and true, as long as it's for the highest good, for your highest good, and does not bring harm to yourself or anyone else. That's the right voice. That's the right choice, right? Betterment. Only you're going to know to navigate your choice specifically. I'm getting spirits throwing me a lot of different things and ulterior motives and stuff like that. I have to tell you, do you remember when I told you about my own healing journey and how I wanted to, I knew I could do soul reads, but I thought, I need a modality. I felt like I would freak people out if I just sat in front of them and started telling them about their life, their personal life, their past life, their current life, their childhood, and their future. I thought I'd just freak them out. So I needed a modality to get into it. So I asked Spirit for a healing modality. And next thing you know, I studied Reiki, energy balancing. I studied Bowen, remedial therapy, and there were my modalities. And then as I did them, then people wanted more of the psychic stuff. And so that's what I do now, except when I'm also, called to do the Bowen and the Reiki. But I definitely turn the Reiki on when I'm giving talks or, patting people on the shoulder or the back. So I'm not saying every road and path you take is a direct path. There might be some divergence, but every step along the way of that path will feed to the future. That's going to be important, right? So don't make bad choices. Be conscious of the choices that you make. Otherwise, you're creating anxiety in your life and you're heading in opposite directions sometimes than you need to be. So those are the anxiety makers that I want to talk to you about. You could probably fill in your blanks, fill in the extra lines of what would adversely affect your intuitive agency when it comes to things that produce anxiety in your life. You know what's clicking? My dad's watch. I have my dad's watch on today. Yeah, I like it. It's I wear it a lot of times when I write. It's kind of a touchstone of like, relax. Dad always says to me, don't get anxious, ask. Like, don't get anxious in your life, ask for help, ask for guidance. So now I'm going to go into the anxiety breakers, right? The anxiety breakers. These are the makeovers. I'm getting chills. The first one is that you have a team of angels and support on the other side. So you could set the intention every day to say, listen, I want to crack open some of these things that make me anxious, and I want your help in looking at it. Is it physiological? Is it biological? Is it chemical? Is it energetic, physical, spiritual, emotional, mental? Let's look. Let's look together. I need your help. Thank you confidently for the insights and information and answers that pour into me over the day. Thank you in advance for, bringing a book my way or an idea my way. Oh, a book, soul yoga, processing, using your 12 chakras as a map to reaching your highest potential, but I'm saying other books, right? Or whatever it is, your thing, right? So that's one anxiety breaker. Another one is to recognize that if you do the work and you channel or you act as a medium for others or get your own insight or work with guides to deliver content and information, readings and stuff like that, is to go higher. If you're feeling like, I've outgrown this guide, you could outgrow a guide, right? I don't think really an angel, but you could outgrow a guide. Certain guides are with you for your entire life and others are with you momentarily through projects. And so it may be that you're not resonating with that guide anymore, not with that particular guide. And so you can choose. You can totally pick and choose. I think I told you that in another episode, and I'm sure I'll tell you again that I had this one guide that she didn't talk. She was nonverbal. She was just like, she just wanted to teach claircognizance. So she was just emitting her information. But I was like, listen, I want someone that can talk. So if I'd have stuck with her, I think it would have been anxiety producing for me in that moment of my development. And so just noticing when you need to go higher, and notice if you're a reader that tunes in to other people's guides when you're doing the reads, or other people's loved ones, if you're, medium or whatever, notice how their energy affects you in those spaces and what you need to do to kind of buffer yourself. I can't tell you how many times I've done mediumship sessions for people that have crossed that had a really tragic end of life. And so I was picking up their anxiety as part of the session. And I had to just kind of like empathically disconnect, deliver the content, read it as a psychic info, and then, empathically disconnect and carry on. So just noticing when you need to go higher. So that would be an anxiety breaker, is to go higher. When do you need to go higher? When do you need to shift this when you're doing spirit work? The other thing is I want you to think about trading worry for focus, right? So notice when you're worrying. My dad says that all the time. Don't worry, focus or ask. He says, don't worry, focus or ask or skill build. So in other words, if you're worried about something, usually it's something that you don't feel prepared for, right? Or you feel like you're worrying about somebody else. Make the call, realize whose life is it anyway? All these kind of things. But I want you to look at it and instead of worrying, focus in on what the problem is so that you can resolve it. And so some of it does take skill building. I remember when I was trying to convert my psychic development class that I would do in person with a small group of people, 12 or 20, right, to a large scale. Like, I'm going to pitch this class to Kripalu. Let's hope they take it. I was like, I can't do it. I was worried, right? But Spirit's like, can you talk to us about it? I was like, okay, chills. And then I talked to Spirit about it. I was like, listen, there's these couple of exercises. They won't translate to large groups. How can I monitor a giant group like this? And Spirit immediately told me the 2 ways we're going to adjust the workshop. I was like, wow. Constance, don't worry, ask. My dad says that to me all the time. Don't worry, ask. So focus and skill build. So focus in on the problem and what skills do you need to build to move beyond the worry, to resolve the worry, right? It's not pretending the worry isn't there. It's to pay attention to it, but resolve it. So that's another cool thing. The other thing, and this is spiritual tonic. Silent walks. Oh my God. I love a silent walk. I usually do it in nature, unless I'm in a big, busy city, which I'm still silent and I'm flooding everybody with light. I'm asking the light to channel through me out to them and blessing them, which I do love doing that too. But one of the ways that if I'm feeling really anxious about an upcoming whatever, and I just need to just recollect myself, is doing a silent walk, going out in nature, really listening to the birds, the squirrels, all of it. It replenishes the soul, and then maybe readdress what's got you worried or anxious, right? So silent walks are key. I love them. Spiritual tonic, I'm telling you. Another thing is to consider with anxiety, maybe you're out of touch with what is making you anxious. And so a skill building exercise for that would be doing Vipassana meditation or insight meditation. Hopefully by the time you're watching this, I have that meditation for sale in my shop. What Vipassana meditation or insight meditation will do will get you to notice subtle sensations on and in your body, your response to triggers, right? When things are uncomfortable for you, whether it's someone talking to you or the energy of a space or a place or a project you have going on, all of these things will register on an energetic level first. And so being astutely aware of the psychic impression that you are picking up surrounding that, or the thought of it, or the emotion of it, or the energy of it, or the space of it, or the person behind it, noticing the energetic resonance is going to be important for you. Otherwise, it could throw you off. So if you don't know what makes you anxious, I want you to get more in touch with your clear sensation and your clear sentiment, right? So that you can recognize when things are throwing you out of sort. It's your body's radar. Your body's like a radar dish, right? I've told you this before. So otherwise, if you're not paying attention and those experiences that you're around that aren't not helpful, and your body is relaying the information through clear sensation, as a really sour stomach or bad feeling, and you're not paying attention, you're back to lying to yourself. It's not good at all. So the importance is honoring your intuition in that way. And Vipassana or insight meditation will help you kind of clarify and recognize when you're having these subtle sensations hit you and what you can do about them, right? Awareness, breath care, awareness, something's going on. Take a breath, get in your body, recognize where it's coming from, and care. What do you need to do? What do you need to do to move back to self-care and preservation? The other thing that's an anxiety breaker is to chase and fuel your passions. You wouldn't think this is an anxiety breaker, but it actually is. I remember I took time off work. I can't remember. Was I married? Yeah, I think I was married. I think I did have the kids. And I thought, well, I'll just do nothing, right? I'll just read. I'll just do nothing. I won't work or whatever. And I realized that I was kind of swirling in too much self-obsession, and I was getting really anxious. And I realized that because I had put my passion and purpose on the back burner, right? I knew I was good at this whole craft of intuitive development and doing reads and everything, but I had stopped when we adopted our kids so I could focus on them. But my days were empty when they were at school. So I started filling them with volunteer work, which was great because volunteer work was needed. But what happened is I still wasn't doing exactly what I knew my heart and soul came to this lifetime to do. So it started to create some anxiety. I wasn't happy, right? So as an anxiety breaker, when you chase and fuel your passions, you actually raise your vibration and you actually raise your quality of joy in your life because you feel enlivened and happy. Your anxiety will drop away because sometimes I feel like when we're not chasing our passion, anxiety is this inner turmoil that stirs up that says, you're not doing your life, you're not doing your life, you're not doing what you promised. You made this vow to come back and do this particular thing or hang out with those kind of people or help that group or whatever it is or do this kind of work. And when we're not doing that, we're not chasing and fueling and working towards our passions, we can spin in our own kind of inner turmoil, which creates anxiety. So definitely chase and fuel your passions. This will be important to raise your vibes and bring more joy to your life and our world, really, because when you're full of joy, then you exude that, which is really cool. And again, another anxiety breaker, which is kind of where I started, is to know yourself, really know yourself. This is why I wrote Soul Yoga, is so that you can use your 12 chakras as the repository of soul information and that they hold, right? So that you can look into the various categories of life experience to unearth anything that's troubling you and holding you back and creating anxiety. This will be beneficial. It's about living true to yourself. And to do that, you have to know yourself. This will also help you when you know yourself and you're giving reads. It'll help you hold on to the vibration of truth and the frequency of truth and the ease of discernment, because you'll notice, you'll be like, oh, nope, I just lost the thread of truth. I went on my own tangent. And you kind of know, like, oh, that's because that's my take on this issue. But let me hook in back to them. That's not their take. So when you start to know yourself on this deeper level, you're able to refine what you're getting as soul and psychic impressions from spirit, from their body, from guides, angels, all of these kind of vibrational spaces that we work in as psychics, mediums, and channels. So it's really important that you know yourself. It starts with you. You're the vessel. So if your vessel's kind of quirky in a way that's not helpful, right? And you're reading through the prisms of your reality, the prison of your reality, your boxes and everything, your reads are going to be compromised. Your insight and your psychic perceptions will be compromised. The same is true that if you only hold the world in a certain way and are not open-hearted and open-minded, you're going to get information that feeds exactly your belief system. Maybe that's not the truth, but it just, self-perpetuating. And to me, this world and life is about spiritual growth and well-being. And that is necessary. It's necessary to have open heart and open mind when you're pursuing greater truths for yourself, definitely, but definitely if you're working as a reader, medium, or channel. You can't go in with your, this is your mindset and nothing else is going to shift that. Then you're not the one. You shouldn't be doing reads if you're going to hold those spaces, right? They'll be limited. Your readings and your sessions will be limiting and limited. And you probably won't get repeat customers because they'll be like, yeah, but it wasn't, their perspective was a certain take and shtick. And you don't want that. You want to be, working for spirit, which is vast. And so make sure you know yourself so that you recognize when your own filters are coming in. And then hopefully you will take time to resolve those filters, right? To look at them, go, what's coming up for me? What's that about? Why do I hold that so, full? Is it because it was society taught? Was it family upbringing? Was it, something that you used as a defense or security measure or whatever? It's for you to unravel. But know yourself. That'll be a great anxiety breaker, because then you can know how you view the world. Really important to understand your personal philosophy in that way. I think it's cool. When I was young, I always wished I had come into this incarnation with an owner's manual for my life. What I didn't realize is that I did have one. I had one. You have one too. I think we spend so much of our time trying to figure out our lives, and most of us don't realize we already have this owner's manual, this map, a map that guides us through and into our fullest potential. This is why I wrote my collection, Soul Yoga. I offer you a book using your 12 chakras as a map to reaching your highest potential, a Soul Yoga companion journal documenting your 12 chakra journey, and Soul Yoga inspiration cards for your soul whisperings of your 12 chakras. Because your chakras aren't just energy centers. They are repositories of soul information, your wisdom, your soul memories, vows, promises you made to yourself prior to this incarnation. And in Soul Yoga, I walk you through your 12 chakras from your earth chakra to your divine chakra to help you unravel, uncover, and chart your journey. This book, companion journal, and inspiration card deck are to promote and guide you to your fullest potential. This collection is not about finding yourself. It's about remembering who you are and why you're here. To get your copy of any of these, visit my shop at my website, constancemessmer.com. Another thing is to limit outside noise. And by that, I mean recognize when someone is trying to sell you something that you shouldn't buy. This is important. I learned this the hard way. So this can definitely create anxiety. So it'll create anxiety if you listen to the outside noise. It will be an anxiety breaker if you limit outside noise. So I've got some friends and acquaintances, and a lot of times they'll send me videos or tell me what I could be doing with my business, or kind of how I might want to go into these packaged teachings on these certain platforms, or, join this writing thing or do this blah, blah, blah. I'm like, dude, I don't have enough time in the day to do all that. I work for Spirit, thank you. Some of them, I don't even listen to whatever they send, because I'm like, Spirit, should I listen to this? Should I watch this? Should I take my valuable time and watch this? And then Spirit's like, no, this isn't for you. Keep going. And so I want you to limit outside noise. If you know you're divinely guided, if you know the trajectory of your path and your purpose is pure, ask those moments when the noise comes in, to ask in those moments. Like, I had a friend that said, you should just focus on tarot cards. And I was like, dude, I did that when I was like, listen, this is not a jab to the tarot readers, because I love tarot. I'll still throw cards, right? But I was doing that in my 20s. Like, no, I don't need the cards. I don't need that tool of divination, because I don't need the cards. We don't need the cards. I don't care if it's a big thing on social media or on TikTok or wherever. I need to be true to me. So limit outside noise. This will be helpful, because otherwise it creates anxiety, because you're chasing their dream of you, not your dream for you, right? And the only one you should ask advice for that's beyond yourself is higher guidance. Or if you go to readers and you're like, this feels good, and what they say resonates with you, then it's like, oh. But sometimes we listen to noise that doesn't resonate, and then it creates anxiety. And then we're going down and following a path that will influence our psychic perception, as well as we're influenced by their psychic perception, and it creates anxiety. It's not good. It's not good at all. So the other thing that is an anxiety breaker is if you recognize you need to try therapy, right? Try therapy, try journaling. This will help you resolve some stuff that is still unresolved in your life and in your world, that has you looking through a certain prism. Remember, I said that. So I think it's important to recognize when you need outside help. I often just go to God. I know that vibration of truth. It's been very good to me. And I have to tell you, I don't have a spiritual advisor. I don't. I think I would have to function from their box, and I can't function from their box, because I talk to a lot of spaces, and I don't need anyone telling me otherwise. So, but I have gone to therapy, different types of therapists, Jungian therapists, Gestalt therapy. Have I gone to trauma therapy? I've gotten body work, the body muscles hold memory. So sometimes doing these kind of things will help you unravel the anxiety you carry, because otherwise, if you're constantly functioning from that space of anxiety, then it will compromise how you view the world, and therefore what you expect as answers in your intuitive moments, or your intuitive seeking, or your psychic seeking, or even in your reads. That's really important. There was a time in my life, not proud to say, where I was really caught up in one philosophy of thought, and my reads were filtered through that philosophy of thought. And someone was courageous enough to go, and the word got back to me. They were like, you know what? I don't really jive with her perspective. And I was like, oh my God, thank you so much for saying that. Because I was so consumed by what I was reading and what I was studying, that was just one perspective, not the vast perspective. And so if you want to be a well-seasoned psychic and a well-studied psychic, be open to all the possibilities. And so noticing what you're carrying will benefit you when you let it go. And so therapy can help you do that. Journaling, seeking outside help, being true to yourself, those kind of things. Those are anxiety breakers. Otherwise, it can just infiltrate your expectations within your own quality sitting time with spirit, getting guidance for yourself or getting guidance for others. That's not beneficial, right? So the other thing that is an anxiety breaker is, of course, notice when you need to unwind. I have not had a real vacation in ages. Listen, I do not count visiting family or visiting my children. That's not vacation. That is visits, right? But it's not vacation. I haven't had a long vacation in a long time. And yeah, maybe I'm due for a vacation. Can I order that, please? It's my own damn fault. My dad says that all the time. Whose fault is that? It's my own damn fault. It is my own damn fault. So I need to prioritize that, because otherwise I can get so busy with work that will create anxiety, even though I love and adore my work. But if we're on the treadmill, then we lose our oomph, we lose our joy, we lose our passion in our work. So notice when you need to unwind. So vacation, yoga class, right? Working out the kinks, stretching. Stretching is cool. Hot baths, sauna, all of these things. What do you do to unwind? And I don't mean drinking or, whatever. Laughing is a great unwind. That's a great unwind. Or smoking pot or whatever. No, don't do drugs. No alternative substances to come to unwind. Go to unwind naturally. That's what I'm talking about. Sit by the ocean, go forest bathing, all of these things, right? Unwind. That's going to be important. Another one is mind your meals. Mind your meals and your intake. So not only the garbage in thoughts, mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual, those kind of things, but also it's important to recognize, do certain foods or beverages cause inner turmoil in your system and therefore create anxiety? For me, I've been noticing lately that I used to have like one cup of coffee followed by another cup of coffee each morning. And I've noticed lately, like, wow, the second cup of coffee can make me agitated. And agitation can sometimes then stir up any anxieties or insecurities, even for me. Yes, I know, right? And so I noticed lately, like, oh, you know what, Constance? Have one cup of coffee and then have another cup of coffee later, a couple hours later. You know, I love coffee. You know this. Thank you for my members that I'll give that help keep Constance in coffee. This is important. But I'm noticing, and maybe it's an age thing, but I also think it's a vibrational frequency thing with all these changes and the barbell basket and everybody moving into their light body. You might notice that certain things you ate and drank before now have an effect on you that's adverse, that might create inner turmoil and lead to anxiety or anxious, like buzzy, too buzzy. I've already told you that I can't really do sugar. I definitely can't do it at night. It'll affect my dream time, right? So I watch, when do you do desserts if you're a dessert person? And so I tend to go, okay, well, what about fruit? I can do fruit instead if I need a sugar sweet or something. But recognizing, okay, is this helpful or harmful? And in what capacity? I think I told you I come, what family doesn't have, what family doesn't current and way back in the lineage struggle with some kind of addictive behavior where we tune out with an addiction of some sort. And I told you mine would probably be food, like mindless eating the sweets. But the thing is noticing, like, if you're leaning into your addictions, then it's like time to reassess meals, intake, food, drink, all this kind of stuff. Is it harmful or helpful? And being true and honest, and don't lie. Don't lie. Don't lie. There's the part of your core consciousness that knows better, right? Knows better. So go for a silent walk and sort that out. Sit in meditation time to sort that out. Like what's coming up for me that I want to dive into, these addictive behaviors, whatever they are, right? So, the garbage in could also be gambling, or online, God forbid, promiscuity or crap that's like, wait a minute, how about you sort the sexuality? All this kind of things. Be comfortable in your sense of sexuality. How's that? But also, yeah, because we're fully human. So it's important to notice, because otherwise all of these things will perpetuate anxiety, right? If we're feeling guilty or whatever, not sorting, carrying the burden of family lineage, not resolving our shit. I told you in the beginning, it's really about your healing journey. It's about using the skill set that you carry in regards to your intuitive nature, but also working with yourself enough to resolve your your stuff, looking at your stuff so that you can come to a better place within yourself so that you're not carrying around anxiety, woes, discomfort, imbalance. And those will contribute to, a sense of anxiety or urgency or uncertainty, and which leads to fear, paranoia, delusions, embellishments, and all those will affect your psychic perception. So this is really important to recognize. And I want you to mostly recognize that anxiety is really your soul asking for self-care. Anxiety is really your soul asking for self-care. If you're watching on YouTube, I have my hands, palms of my hands cupped around my clear quartz heart. And so I'm holding you energetically in a space of light and love as I say these words, sending you healing light. If you recognize yourself as someone with an anxious mind, anxious body, anxious emotions, anxious soul, I want you to know that anxiety is your soul asking for self-care. And so it's about stepping in to be there for yourself, to be your own best friend, to show up for yourself so that you can resolve it and work to resolve it, because otherwise anxiety will adversely affect your psychic perception. Whether you do reads for others, mediumship for others, channeling for others, or just use your intuitive nature to access your greatest truths or truth from spirit realm, guides, angels, loved ones, reading people as you discern whether or not you can trust them, or projecting yourself into the job offer that you might take but can't decide, and then you're like, I don't know. But if you have anxiety clouding your judgment, your intuitive radar will be off. And so you have to work backwards a little bit. Notice the anxiety makers in your life and move more into the anxiety breakers. This will be good. In the upcoming episodes, I'm going to speak to you about energetic agency. That will help you monitor your empathic state so that you can break through anxiety and become more aligned with your own self. Those are going to be helpful episodes, so stick around. Make sure you subscribe, like, follow, share. If you found this episode helpful for you and know someone who could use it, maybe someone who's trying to tell you what to do in your life, please share it with them. And you be you. Let them be them, but you be you, You know when you're supposed to give guidance or you're supposed to give messages and they're divinely inspired, but you also know when it's like, oh, let me tell them what to do so that I don't have to do what I know I'm supposed to do. Don't be one of those people. Don't be one of those people. I love you. I love you. I want you to have less anxiety in your life because I want you to recognize your full potential. You're supposed to be free from anxiety, more in your peace and joy. So notice where anxiety adversely affects your psychic perception and what you can do about it. I hope this episode's been helpful for you. I appreciate you. Thanks for tuning in.